You know what's crazy? We're in such a unique time right now. Never has there been in all of history a time when we're so connected and disconnected at the same time. Right? Because look, think about it. You have a boatload of friends on Facebook, followers on Instagram, subscribers on YouTube, a whole bunch of people who like and follow and do all this stuff. Yet, ask those very same people who have thousands of followers and hundreds of thousands of subscribers, ask them how many friends they actually have. And you'll come up with a completely different number. And when I say friends, I mean people that you can call like at 2 o'clock in the morning because something's going down. Or like people that you invest in and they invest in you as well. Not too many people could say they actually have friends now. And there's a cost to that, right? Because while technology advances, and it is advancing at a rapid rate, let's be honest about this one. Like, technology is advancing, but as technology advances, I wonder, and well, we have stats, so we don't have to wonder, but so much of the impact relationally. It's not really good. Let's get into it. Here's a stat that should terrify you. In 1990, the average American reported having 3 close friends, people they could call in a crisis, people who knew them deeply. In 2021, that number dropped to 1, and 12% of Americans reported having 0 close friends. We're in a relationship and a friendship recession, and it's killing us, literally. Loneliness increases mortality risk by 26%. Social isolation is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Lack of close relationships accelerates cognitive decline, weakens immunity, and increases depression rates. But here's what's even more wild. We're more connected than ever. More followers, more contacts, more group chats. So why are we so lonely? This episode is about the friendship recession. Why it's happening, what's it costing us, and how to build the kind of depth that actually sustains life. So I'm going to give you a few stats on this friendship relationship issue, right? And this is from a survey of American Life. It was done in 2021. So you also got to consider, the whole thing with COVID, the lockdowns and all that jazz played a pretty big part. I'm not ignoring that at all. But a large part of what the situation we find ourselves in right now was already happening pre-COVID. So anyway, but that's another story, right? So Survey of American Life, this survey was in 2021. The number of average close friends was 1, which was down from 3 in 1990. 12% of the people reported 0 close friends, which is up 3% from 1990. And then now here's another wrinkle in this. 49% of men report having no close friends outside of their spouse. That one's even more alarming, right? Because, I'm sure you've heard a lot of people already talk about the idea of middle-aged men, or what was it, 18 to 30-something age men, and the depression rates amongst that group, and the loneliness that happens with all that particular group and all that fun stuff. I know you've heard the stats before, and if you haven't, a quick Google search will break it all down for you, right? So, but the question is, like, what qualifies, and in this study, what qualifies as a close friend? It's someone you can call in a crisis, someone who knows your struggles, someone you see regularly. And so what this automatically eliminates is the idea of followers and acquaintances, some people subscribers were, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too, where the whole idea of somebody subscribing to something that you're doing, really they're coming to you maybe for some educational purposes, sure, but they're coming to you for entertainment in a lot of cases. That's not necessarily a friend. They're still coming to get something from you as opposed to give something to you, right? So very different, but we'll get more into it. So what we did though, we've replaced depth with breadth. It's not working. So a question to ask obviously is, well, why did friendships, actual real friendships, collapse? And part of that is, again, what I started off with, digital replaced actual human interaction, right? So like texting replaced conversations, right? And you have, likes and subscribes and follows and all that fun stuff that replaced actual human presence. I mean, you can keep in touch without actually being in that person's presence, right? Now, I hear what you're saying. Like, well, you could do that with the phone call too, right? Yes, absolutely. So I'm not blaming all of social media, but at the same time, a lot of times what you use the phone for is to call somebody up and be like, hey, where are we going to meet up? Right? It's very different. A lot of the technology that we have out right now, it replaces the human interaction. So what we're mistaking, like we're looking for connection, but we're mistaking this illusion of connection, and we're almost replacing the idea of human interaction and connection with this faux, fake, quasi made up connection, because it's not real. Like the likes, the follows, the subscribes, the even just like the texting, it's not real. Another reason why a lot of these friendships, relationships break down is because we're more mobile than ever as well, right? Like I could ideally work across the state, and a lot of times, so here's the thing, right? Because you can't really talk about this until you talk about like the remote work thing, right? There, for a point in time, especially coming out of COVID, remote work was everything. I mean, it's funny now how quickly things change for seemingly no reason, right? Right out of COVID, it was like remote work is here to stay. This is the way we do things because this is how we're most efficient. This is what we're going to do forevermore. And then you give it a year or two, and they're saying, oh, wait, hybrid work, that's the best thing. That's best of both worlds now, without ever really discussing or talking about what's the best of the other world when we were stuck in the office, right? But whatever. And then you get to a point where now they're just like, hey, we just want everybody back to the office because we're trying to build up our culture. Not even understanding that that's not even the way you build up a culture. The culture is what, okay, it's about to be a different topic. But so what's happened before was a lot of people would move to their jobs. So wherever their jobs are located, they would move closer to their jobs. But they would move, and then at that time, people were switching jobs so often that they would be there for 3 years, 4 years maybe. It's not long enough to really, grow some roots and build some friendships there. Maybe some, right? But then it's just like those long-standing ones, not really. And then they move out of town, and it's just like, well, I'm not in close proximity to this person anymore. We'll talk on the phone every now and again, and it always ends up fading. It just does. Like you have to be very intentional when it comes to friendships and relationships. You have to be very intentional of actually seeing that person, being in close proximity to that person. Otherwise, whatever, right? So that's another reason why. And again, it started to shift a little bit, right? Because as people shifted and moved for jobs, then they started staying home for their jobs because remote work was more accepted. And then now it seems like it's shifting again, and now more people are starting to to move around again a little bit. Now, there are other nuances and other things to be, to consider in all of this, right? But the initial mobility is why a lot of friendships ended up breaking down. A lot of relationships ended up falling by the wayside. Another reason why friendships and relationships broke down, and this is kind of a big one, right? Everybody's busy. I mean, people are so busy now. It's like we're that's the thing that trips me out, right? Like, we're too busy for friends now. Everybody's doing something, but and then everybody wants to come at Gen Z's neck because they're starting to get it right. Like, oh, Gen Z's lazy. I love it when people call Gen Zers lazy. Now, don't get it twisted. There's some of y'all Gen Zers out there straight lazy. Like, y'all got to get up and do something. But a lot of the ones that I talk to, a lot of the ones that I had conversations with, it's not even about that at all. It's not. It really comes down to valuing their time more and valuing their time enough not to give it to somebody who's going to abuse it no matter what. But that's the thing. There's this thing where you got to work hard, you got to build, do this, for yourself and all that, go get it, blah, 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 grind, mash. And you're making yourself busy to what end, right? And you're missing out on all of these connections, all of these actual, real, long-lasting, fire-standing relationships and friendships. And it just doesn't, so people are just too busy, quote unquote, busy. Another one, not so big, but it's something that I've noticed as well. It seems like the nuclear family is closer knit, which is good, but there's not that much of a sense of community out there in these neighborhoods, right? Like, yeah, I know my neighbor, sure, but do I like talk to my neighbor? Mm-mm. And it's just like, do I have a regular conversation with some neighbors? I do. I'm not going to front. Some neighbors, yeah, absolutely. But it's just like, I think in a general sense, in all of our neighborhoods all across America, they're less neighborly, if that's the way I want to put it. I think I do. And so that's not a major thing that contributes to it, but it does. Like, if you think about it, where that one stat where 49% of men don't have any other friends and don't have anybody like outside of their spouse. That's half, so you're keeping within your family, keeping within your home, but you're not really extending any bit outside of that. And that can lead to this, this relational recession, right? Another one, now this could be a big one too, is that we replaced community with entertainment, right? People would much rather, and again, this probably has something to do with technology too, in a way, right? People would much rather sit at home and watch Netflix, watch something on Netflix. Let's bring this up. Let me bring this up, bring that up, as opposed to actually going out and going out and doing stuff, right? And it's interesting because, like, you think about it, Netflix took out, a good portion of, like, I mean, obviously it destroyed Blockbuster, right? For those of you who are old enough to know, where you actually had to go to a store to get your tape, and here we go. And I was like, I'm old again, but whatever. And it's like, you get your tape or rent your video game, right? But you would actually have to go to the store, talk to somebody, right? And that, of course, those weren't deep interactions. I'm not saying that, but I'm also thinking about, like, here's another place, like, another thing that took a hit was the movie theaters. And that's where you would go, right? Like, watch a movie, hang out, get some, I hate popcorn, so I wasn't getting popcorn, but I would get some of, like, the M&Ms or something like that, right? So it's just like, get some of that stuff and chill, right? And have fun with somebody else. Now, it's all in-house. Everything that you could do entertainment-wise, you could just in-house. And so more people are opting for that. Now, part of that might be also because things are crazy out there. I don't know, but there's a definite difference there where it's like Things that people used to do in a community setting, they don't. They keep it in house. And again, that's not to say everyone does this, right? That's not to say like every single person, but the numbers are shifting in this direction, and they've been shifting for the past decade, right? Like they've been shifting in this direction of where people are they're isolating themselves, right? And let's not even talk about dating. That's dead.